Good evening. Welcome to In the North Bank, a very happy big Sunday show, joined by a full group today. Some newbies to the group. Bez is going to be taking the hosting privilege tonight, so I'm taking a little a sidestep just for today. But welcome everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. So Bez, I'll hand over, mate.
Well, I'm going to say good evening, all. Thank you very much for joining me in this fine St. Tottenham day. Sorry, my voice going a bit, but it's been a wonderful day. I'm sure for us all, we can celebrate, we can cherish the moment, we can milk it in, as we used to say back in the day. Let's be having you, It's been a wonderful day all around. I hope all of you had a wonderful day. What have you done? Enjoying the game, walking your dogs, which I know most of you do. So I hope it's been great for you all. I want to ask, and if I may, and it might be a bit of the obvious question to pop up as the first one, but having the same starting 11 for the second game running in a London derby again, what were your thoughts? I'll start with you, Brace. I'll go around the group.
I think what you've seen this season is that we've got real good balance in our squad. Certainly going through to this latter stage, and something we've not had for quite a few seasons, where we've always had the players, but then we've obviously had injuries. We've had, all those kind of things where we've kind of contrived against us last season, the season before. It's nice to have these players come back and be ready and able to give something. I was quite buzzing for him to have kind of done it, and I think even Partey was the biggest one. Where I suddenly looked at it, I suddenly think, well, there was a lot of talk, wasn't there, about can he do it? Can we trust him? Is he gonna break down? You know what I mean? Does he need a little bit of oil underneath the armpits or something like that just to kind of get him through a game? And he'd done 90 minutes. So you look at it, at the end of the day, you look at it and just think it was great to see the squad as it was, a positive start to the day. I think we're certainly just waiting for that game in those nervy moments before. Horrible. I hate those feelings.
Same. I can totally relate to you in that. It was tough all around, I guess, for all of us. Contingents of Arsenal today. Very tough second half. Very nervy as well, as you say.
Yeah.
So Neil, my friend, what did you make of that starting 11 having the same from the Chelsea one? Do you echo what Bray is saying? Basis on that, were we happy with the lineup that he still kept the same shape?
Yeah, I was very, very pleased that he was doing that, because I saw something in Partey. I think it was his cameo, wasn't it, in a 10-15 minute cameo before the game where he started. I can't remember which game it was now. I'm completely lost because my head's just all over the place after today's win. But I thought that I've always had that adage: why change something that isn't broken? I think if we're on a winning formula with a certain setup and a certain balance, then I don't think we should meddle with it. There was kind of argument that maybe we play Jorginho, because, to be fair, Jorginho's had an amazing season. He's been really good for us. He's been we wouldn't be where we are without his input as well. So it's a difficult one. But I think Partey, just tipped the scales for me to be the right choice. And then I'm glad that he stuck with Tomiyasu rather than trying out Kiwi or Zinchenko on the left back, because for me Zinchenko is very, very suspect in defence, and I knew that Tottenham would be playing a high line and they would be attacking, and we needed our defence to be on song really today. So I'm glad with the starting lineup, and again with Trossard, Havertz up front, and Saka. To me, it just made sense. And end of the day, I'm going to give Havertz a shout out. I think, as good as Odegaard is and has been all season, I actually really do feel that Havertz has been my best player over the last few games. He is proving to be a magical signing. Everyone was thinking at the start, what have we bought him for? What's his role? He's upsetting the balance of the whole team. Why is he even at the club? And now it's Arteta and Edu and the scouts have seen something in him, and he's proving his worth. and he's playing brilliantly. I think he's causing the defense lots of problems. He's strong. His hold up play is good, and he's scoring goals as well. So I was well chuffed with the starting lineup, and look, it went well for 45 minutes. Didn't it? Served us well.
Lovely to hear that. Havertz has been a revelation, and I'm happy to see this proved a lot of our fan base wrong for the right reasons. Without going to anyone, persons how they felt better off without him, or why did we spend the 60 million? And now, almost half the season, what am I talking about? Near the end of the season now, all those fans who are negatively responding to that, I'm happy that the last laugh. I can completely echo what you're saying. Totally, it's not been easy, right, for him. I'm glad he settled down the way he did. So that's good to hear that from yourself, that you see the positive light out of it as well. James, I'll touch back to you as well, as I referred to the previous guys. Were you happy with the same starting 11 again for London Derby, like unchanged as well?
Yeah, you couldn't look at the game against Chelsea and think that nobody deserved to be in there. A lot of people obviously said about Martinelli because of his pace and everything. Martinelli at the moment, okay, he had what I would say was an okay cameo, but he's slightly off the boil at the moment. And Trossard's been scoring, so he got ahead because he scored the other night in that game. Everything else, I think it picks itself. It's arguably, for some, probably our best lineup. For me, Paul Merson said it before the game, and I agree with him about Thomas Partey. There are times where he takes a few too many touches in what is a congested area, and that does sometimes very nearly put us on the back foot, whereas Jorginho is a bit more controlled in that, but Jorginho does not have the mobility that Thomas Partey has. And also Thomas Partey, with more of his passing range and what have you, he makes Odegaard and Rice be able to go higher up. And they are very, very good at winning the ball in that offensive third and then creating stuff from something with them two players. So, yeah, I had no problems whatsoever with this lineup, Bez.
Very good points.
I'll tweak it next Saturday, but that's probably a question you're going to ask a bit later. So I'll wait for when you ask me that one.
Not to worry. I'm glad you have that in mind as well. So it makes my presenting tonight a bit easier as well. Good to have you have plan B in mind as well. So Dan, welcome to our podcasting world, as we call it. How did you feel about our shape as well? Were you happy with the starting 11? They kept it again the second game running. Sorry.
Yeah. Before the lineups came up, I really just wanted to see the same lineup that played against Chelsea, because I thought we were so good. And again, I think Partey, I've been looking forward to having him back. We've not had him for so long this season, and he played really well against Chelsea. And I just wanted him to see him in the lineup again. I feel like he done so many interceptions as well. I counted like double figures against Chelsea. So it was just, I feel like that is closest to our strongest 11. Maybe we could have Martinelli in, but Trossard's been doing really well, so there's no need to bring him in. And it's good to have Martinelli come off the bench. We've got a strong bench now as well that can really make an impact when we need it. So yeah, I was very happy with the lineup, and obviously very happy with the result.
Cracking stuff. All happiness around. I can sense around me. So Georgia boy, what do you think? Were you happy as well with the starting 11? Was there anything you could have seen? You could have made a slight little tweak before the game?
No, mate. To be fair, I think that team lineup answers itself. I think when we change, if we have everyone, is if we have a fully fit Timber in for Tomiyasu. But I think Tommy's doing a really good job. I was quite impressed with Tommy today because he's playing that classical left back role, which is he's not really known for doing. So yeah, so I was quite happy with that. Like I've said it on other podcasts, I don't want to see Kai Havertz anywhere else apart from everyone. And I've said it when we bought him. I got a lot of abuse for that. But who's laughing now? So yeah, I thought that was a decent, best lineup we could have gone with, mate. And I will say, I think Trossard, I was one of the people who said he don't really start games that well, but the last couple, I think he's stood up and been counted.
It's a strange one for him, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's one of those where you suddenly you wonder when he starts, he doesn't do it, And then there'll be the times where he does do it, but then there's also the times where he's on the bench and then he then just changes the game. It's a very strange player, but when he can do it, when he's on it, he's pretty decent, isn't he?
I think he's an amazing squad player. Like the way you look at it, like we didn't. What was it? 20 odd million we paid for him, like Trossard. And
I think we had change for 20. I think so.
So and then and he scored some important goals this season. So I don't think he gets the credit that he quite deserves and should really get.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's utilised well. I think of late we have seen that. Well, in the past we have seen. I'll say this now before I lose my wedding, but basically how in the past people say, yeah, coming off the bench, he was, as you say, was a little more stronger, brings more life into the game. For me, I've been impressed. He keeps his head down. You know, I saw even the Chelsea one myself that he clearly has a knack, even to just the link up with Rice, have that good understanding. That left-hand side channel for us, sadly, he's been a bit quiet in recent times, but thankfully now I think we're seeing that the squad that can understand we can attack both left wing and right wing quite at ease, which is nice to see that flexibility, that option. I think as a whole, even as you know, the squad can see that we have now more strength and depth. The right side, yes, thankfully Saka can do everything, but for me as well, as we all probably will talk more about this going forwards, but I do feel like we need to back up even Saka and back up now the left hand side more, because come these tough fixtures, because now we need near the end, we need to be more, I think, more ready, more proficient now. When we sign up players in the future, just make sure we sign the right one. Obviously, not to spend crazy. Let's hope not. Buy the right one, basis and on like what we needed to do, what make this person tick to play for the shirt, what his needs like to be done, to have that forward thinker who can have a strategy, i.e. like a Thomas Partey. I know he's getting on a bit, for example. Have someone who thinks like him, or at least have him teach that player how I operate, how I do this action, how would I reach that final third of the ball, of the field, more like with the ball, and then reach hopefully the team to new heights, which hopefully going forward, that's the way forward with this squad, including the ladies as well, which I'll probably mention something tonight because I didn't watch the game, but I'm sure something will come up that will improve our depth more in this first 11 / all-round squad.
Yeah.
It's quite long, this, but I'll try and break it down. The second question, and I'll keep it as short and simple for us, because basically I want to say, considering first half blitz that we had, and then finish with a nervy second, sadly, and we did held on, which thankfully we did get the job done. When I ask a question, I just want to see, I don't want to sound, I'm blaming them, obviously putting the blame at Raya, but for example, when he made the error leading the first goal, do you think his focus just dipped a bit? Was he just complacent? Bray, for example, did he just lose his head? Or what do you think happened to him?
I just think he caught in maybe. I think he's trying to continue play. I think he's looking to try and maybe say just keep the ball ticking and just maybe a little kind of thing just into Partey. He's got it wrong, but again, this is the position which is so unforgiving. You make a mistake as a goalkeeper, it's highlighted so much because there's very rarely anyone to back you up. And I've said that with Ramsdale. I've said it with him. If he makes a mistake, anyone else makes a mistake anywhere on the pitch, they can get rectified by people behind them. It was one of those. I think what he probably should have done, and he probably would have done again, he would have probably played a long ball into the channels, and again probably gone for Havertz, which he'd done quite a fair bit, which was quite nice to see. Certainly in those first stages. I think I remember from about the first 15 minutes, I think Havertz was winning chance after or ball after ball, wasn't he, for about 4 or 5 times, and that was quite good to see. But yeah, Ray, look, it's one of those. Take that out of the whole thing. He was solid all the way through, wasn't he? Either side, and he has been for a long time. So yeah, one of those things. I think as a goalkeeper, it's how you react to it. And if he would have crumbled and his head would have gone down, that's when you'd be questioning that kind of thing as a goalkeeper.
Good points, though. Good points. Neil, do you think his mistakes kind of like made up for his performance near the end, like basis on the area, like kind of like misjudged his how can I say this? He's judged his movement. You can see he just lost his focus for a second.
I'm going to be honest. I
Please
say
do.
I say it how I see it. And look, it took me a while to warm to Raya because still have a lot of love for Ramsdale, but I've slowly warmed to Raya over the last couple of months, and I've seen his worth, and I think he's a very calm keeper. He's the complete opposite in terms of personality of Ramsdale. I loved Ramsdale because I thought he showed a lot of emotion, a lot of passion. He used to banter with the away fans and all of this stuff, which I actually quite liked, but I can also see the argument that also can be quite distracting. He didn't do himself any favours when he came out and made that statement that he doesn't focus for 90 minutes of a game, which is the most stupidest thing anyone could do. But, he kind of dug his own grave there. But, I'm still willing to forgive all of that. However, I have warmed to Raya over the last couple of months, as I said, or last few games, and I've understood why Arteta was always keen to sign him. I think he was after him even before he got Ramsdale. So I think, he's been a big fan of his for a while. And he's finally got his man. And I'm sure it's going to be a permanent move in the summer from the loan that is currently. But today, for me, that is unforgivable. I mean, I'm not trying to get on his back. I put a tweet out, and then some people quite rightly said, "Look, don't add fuel to the fire and try and stay positive, etc." And I said, "Look, I am." But it was a situation where, although we weren't playing our best, we were 3-0 up, and I think we were in relatively good control. And I think at that point, Tottenham were really wavering as well. And I thought we could have them here. We could potentially get another 2-3 goals. That would also extend. I know they're not that important, but it would have been nice to have equal the 7 clean away sheets as well, away from home. I think we've equaled. I don't know. James McCree's good with all this, but I think it's Chelsea and Man United that have done it, or I can't remember who it is. I think it's those two teams.
Yeah, United and Chelsea
So
are the two.
we would have equaled that. But more importantly than that, because records are records, but they don't always necessarily win you titles. More importantly than that, it wouldn't have given them the impetus and the wind in their sails to sniff something out of the game. And that's exactly what happened. And for me, there was a player either side of him which he could have passed to. He wasn't under any pressure. And it wasn't the most difficult of things to do. I don't know. I think Dan. Not Dan. Sorry, the chap went before. I'm so sorry. I don't know you guys, but apart from James and yourself, but he explained it really well. And then maybe he was thinking of something. And mistakes do happen, and no one should be chastised. I get it. And you always back the players. You always back the club, and always. And I do that. But I was a nervous wreck going into this game, and absolutely not normally like this. Complete nervous wreck because of the importance of it all, because it's all about fine margins. We know what Man City are like. We cannot even make the smallest of errors. And that was a big, big error for me. And it almost let Tottenham back in the game. We were hanging on right until the end, till the 96th minute, to avoid, the equaliser. And that would probably been the death of us if that had happened. So I feel that, it's something that you don't want to really destroy anyone for, which I won't. But it's still, you've got to recognise it that was a big mistake, and we've got to be switched on now. We've got 3 more games to play. We've got to be switched on for every second and do our best. And to be fair, the team has done that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we are in this place at this time of the season. So kudos for all of that, and I'm happy as hell. Of course, I am. But that was very unnerving, and it was quite a bad moment for me. But that's just my opinion.
Sure, James, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree with Neil and Paul. What I will say is that moment you've created and you've set in a panic, and that was a panic that could have not only cost us potentially this game, it would have cost us the league, and that, to be on him, would have probably broke the guy. But what I do like is, and I will say it because, again, I've been in this game long enough. I've upset enough people now that I've passed caring upsetting people. People's tears actually hydrate me. He's still a better goalkeeper than Aaron Ramsdale, because I've seen Aaron Ramsdale make a mistake in a game. Then he makes another one. Then he makes another one after that. David Raya, after his mistake, nearly got an assist from a launched ball to Martinelli where he was away and through until Kulusevski shoved him. And then every other moment that was nervy or cagey, he collected every single ball and distributed every single pass properly. And that is the difference. That's what I've tried to explain to all these people that hate David Raya for a reason that wasn't his. It was the manager and Edu and what have you's decision to bring him into the club, yet they hate him for it for some reason. You know, this is a guy that owns the moment. He makes his mistake and he owns the moment. He doesn't get his dad going on podcasts when things are a bit hard. He stands up for himself and has accountability for himself and is a man about it. And that's the difference. As much as I love Aaron Ramsdale as well, and I will be sad to see him go because he's definitely going to go because he's too good to be a number 2. This is the difference. This is the level. And I hope more people understand that and more people get behind David Raya, because if we do win the league and he gets the golden glove, okay, a lot of that is because he's got 2 bloody brilliant centre-halves in front of him, which is another thing I'll say, by the way. I thought Spurs, apparently they had the best 2 centre-backs in the league. Well, they did, 3 goals in one half. Don't really think they're the best 2, but there we go. We'll probably discuss that later on. But yeah, this is the thing with David Raya is that he makes a mistake and he owns it, and then he's totally fine afterwards. You go back to the Chelsea game earlier in the season. He made a mistake there, and you thought after the game Arteta's going to crucify him. Arteta stood there and went, no. Every single thing after that mistake he made was perfect, and is exactly what he said again today. He said, yeah, he understood. He's apologised. When we've got in there, he's apologised to every single one of them and said, yeah, that's on me. I began the rut. I set the panic in. I apologise, but we'll move on from here. And that's what we need to do. But yeah, it was a big mistake in a big moment. But yeah, we got away with it. So who cares?
I appreciate your whole hand-to-heart experience there, because I'm sure, Ray, as you say, today will prove that Clint he can make the odd mistake, but also pick up himself the way he did. Really showed his gutsy enough not to crumble. In that period of game, I completely can see where you're coming from, because you can see that moment that you think, okay, he's having this thing. He's 3-2. What's his goalkeeper going to do? He's technically his first away game. At that place. And it must be nerve-wracking to be behind in a big hostile environment, because hostile. The Tottenham is always hostile. Never is easy for anyone. But I'm happy you see the good side of it. And makes me think now too as well. As much as I love Ramsey as well, people need to start to think. Eventually, one of these closeness players that we are close to by heart, we have to respect now what we have in front of us. Like Reyes should simply be now will be part of us. Acknowledge what you have, embrace him. Don't let him be out in the mud, shall we say, right?
I was just going to quickly interrupt. I was hoping he'd make the penalty save, but to be honest, James summed it up brilliantly there. I mean, I didn't get to say that part, but that's a test of character, pure character, that he came back and was absolutely brilliant for the rest of the game. He's commanding the box, the way he catches the crosses. He's always first to them. He doesn't flap around. And I think James actually summed it up. And I agree. That is why I've now warmed to him. But it was just in that moment, it was just so almost like a massive shock to the system. It's like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? And, it thankfully, we got the points, so North London is red.
Let's keep it that way, mate. Let's keep it that way. And please, if you want to interrupt, I don't mind. Please, you can freely freestyle anything you want to say.
Summed it up perfectly well. Yeah, I agree. And that's the main reason why we signed him. He's so reassuring. And when we did feel a bit nervy, because he went 3-1 and then 3-2, but he completely removed the nerves completely. Like him just keep on collecting that ball when it was getting crossed in, and then just setting it down, and we go again. And like they never even had a really shot on goal. Like once they got the goal we gave away from Raya and then the penalty, like nothing really came about, and that was because Raya was so reassuring at the back and collecting everything and easing off all of the pressure. So I completely agree with James. Like that's what he gives us, and it makes such an impact as well. And yeah, it just helps us to get back on the ball and attack again.
Good stuff, Dan. George, do you think anything could be added, like how Raya outshined his error and made up for it at the end?
I do have to say I agree with like every single word James has said. Glad someone's actually spoke a bit of sense, like, because some of the stuff I've seen on Twitter is just a bit, yeah. And I think that's what people forget. Yeah, it was a big mistake. I understand that, but this is quite ironic coming from a blind person. Fans need to open their eyes as well to see what Raya done after that. Like there was a save towards the end of the game that Raya made, but that won't get mentioned because it doesn't fit the narrative. And I just think it's how people bounce back from their mistakes. Like it was said about Ramsdale. The Brentford game was only this season that he made those mistakes in. So, like, people think I really dislike Ramsdale. I don't. I do like Ramsdale, but for me, Raya is that little bit better. Raya doesn't make TV saves like what Ramsdale does. He just does what he's got to do. And it's just all about character. Like I think James said about Raya, he nearly set Martinelli up. So there is a reason that he's in contention for the Golden Glove. I just think some people in our fan base, we have scapegoats. So it's easy to have a go at someone like a Raya or a Havertz about something, but when they bounce back from a mistake, they haven't really got anything to say. So just echoing what everyone else has said, really.
I think the big difference, Bed, between those two. You know, obviously Ramsdale come in, he was trying to win over everyone, wasn't he? And this is where the whole thing about where we're talking about, you're trying to prove themselves. He was playing up to the crowd. He was trying to do all the antics to kind of make himself into a cult hero, wasn't he? And maybe there's a little bit too much time spent on that kind of side of things as opposed to the main thing that he should be concentrating on and being that top goalkeeper. And he is a top goalkeeper. And this is where that kind of concentration thing comes into it. Those mistakes, I earmark maybe say 2 or 3 of those mistakes where he kind of comes out for the crosses. And he's nowhere near the crosses and he just literally is jumping up in the air. And he's nowhere near it. West Ham away was a brilliant one where you suddenly just like saw it and he just literally just sprang dangle just like that, literally just jumping in the air, nowhere near the ball. And then you suddenly nowhere near. But then you look at the whole total opposite of Raya coming out and he'll see the ball, bang, straight into it. And he's so comfortable with it. But yeah, I echo where I just think he was just trying to win us over too much. I think from the early stages. And Raya wasn't going to be in an easy spot either, was he? When you look at it, and you think of those at that early point, you imagine coming into it's not a hostile situation, but it wouldn't have been nice for him coming in front of a fan favourite. And that's another thing when you suddenly look at it, when you suddenly think, when you've also got people that are saying, oh no, he shouldn't be playing, blah, blah, blah. So he's taken a little bit of time to get that confidence, I suppose, and then obviously exert himself and push himself on the fan base to say, as we've just discussed, how good a keeper he is, and he's shown it what he can be. But as I say, they are humans; they are going to make mistakes. But it is what it is. But yeah, 2 really good goalkeepers. I'll be disappointed to see him go. But as I say, we have to move on, and like I say, he needs to move on as well to play football. And if he's not getting the football, then he needs to look elsewhere, doesn't he? Just before we go on to the next one, just a few hellos in the chat. Zoom in the UK, BX Gunner, Emerson, evening, Alex, Russ Morgan, and yeah, that's about it. I've got a brilliant one here. Zoom in the UK, is Benny Blanco the dog's hindquarters or what?
It's just the top lad.
I know he's got massive ones. I know that.
Yeah. No, he's done very well, hasn't he? He's done very well. But I think that what was your next? What's your next question, Bez?
Just linking up because you guys mentioned the penalty. I'll keep this short. This one particularly was Rice unfairly penalised the way the penalty went away? Well, sorry, their way. The way they just gave it to him?
No, Bez, Michael Oliver is not... Now, this quote isn't coming from me. This is coming from the space and the Premier League and what have you. he is known as the best referee in this country. If he can't see Declan Rice, even if it's accidental, which it was, he went to play a ball, but he's kicked someone in the gonads from point blank range, and he hasn't seen it, and he's had to go to a monitor to see that a bloke's been he basically got volleyed in the gonads, let's put it like that. And it took him having to go to a television because he didn't see it in real time. If it was up the other end, I would be going absolutely, and I can understand. I mean, it's bad enough that they have to support that team every week anyway. So that would make me upset if I had to support them for 38 weeks of a season and everything else. But I could see why they were livid, because me and Neil, not everyone in this chat will know, me and Neil have done podcasts together for nearly 2 decades. So we've got a group chat that we're all in. And I was going, that's a penalty, lads. And they're like, what? I was like, he's booted him in the balls. Like, it's a 10. I'm like, I was livid because I'm like, oh, God, it's a penalty. And, but yeah, it was mental. It was mental. It took that long and everything else.
I'm going to disagree with that. I don't think there was any conclusive evidence to say he actually kicked him.
Oh, you watch it back. He corrected.
There's me, 6'4", 6'5". If I'm going to clear that ball in the penalty area, I'm going to at least see that opponent start rippling as soon as I've made that kick, cartoon style. You hear that little doing like that. There was nothing. There was no movement, nothing. And that's what I was just suddenly thinking, all of a sudden, they were the minimal contact. He played.
Or they made a steal, one of the two.
Yeah, but look, it was a bit late. I'll give it that. But as I say, I would have liked to have seen a bit more kind of like maybe just a little slap, kind of just with the skin, just kind of like just shoving.
If it's up the other end, Paul, we're going berserk.
I know we are. But yeah, definite penalty, 100% red card. George was obviously George was in he obviously couldn't see it, so he can't comment on that. So George is like he'd be saying that same joke as well, wouldn't you, George?
Yeah, mate.
You didn't see it. You've done your Arsene Wenger.
Yeah. My only thing with it is, if obviously not being able to see it visually, he's laid him out and I don't know, like speared him, done a Roman Reigns on him, like. And,
what was the audio description of it? That'd be quite funny, actually. He's kicked him square in the gonads. No. Like
I wasn't commentating, sadly. That's what I would have said. But yeah.
But what my argument is, if Michael Oliver, like was said, can't see that, then he needs to apply for the RNIB to get eye support on his eyes, because he should be able to see something that close. It's what annoys me. He shouldn't be going to cut and dry as it's being made out, which I do think it was a penalty from what the radio was saying, but I think it was harsh. But he shouldn't need to go to the screen. That's what I'm getting from it.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely.
Yeah. Good.
I think it might have been the angle. Maybe the way the ref was standing at the certain angle, he maybe just didn't see the kick hit him like it did. That's all I can say. I don't know.
I think what doesn't help is, and I've actually, for the few, and I will say there's a few quite honest Tottenham fans around, they were livid today with the amount of diving that their attacking player, especially Maddison and Kulisevsky, especially when they're in certain areas, just of how soft they were. Because they were like, if you stay on your feet there and either lay on a pass or shoot, we'd probably score. And I think Michael Oliver looked at it and probably was like, they've gone down easy all game in the box, so I'm not going to give that. But yeah, it was like I said a few minutes back. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's a penalty, 100%. When you get, I hate Gary Neville anyway, but when you get Gary Neville doing like that, that it's that something's bad.
Yeah.
Good shoulder.
It's a sound you don't want to hear.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the noise we all dread. Bit like the theme of Heartbeat. If you were a kid in the 90s, that on Sunday, when Heartbeat come on, you knew that you had school on the Monday. That was the worst noise. But yeah, Gary Neville's voice now is it's the next noise.
Yeah, Gary Neville, we definitely.
Neil, if you were a child in the 90s and you heard Antiques Roadshow and then Heartbeat, you went, bugger, I've got school at 8 tomorrow.
Sadly, I was a child of decades sooner earlier than that.
Yeah,
Mate.
I don't know what programs you used to watch, mate. Then,
Yeah, black and white, mate. Black and white.
Yeah. I did
Last
do
time when
drive.
Tottenham won the league, that's the TVs
Yeah, I did do
I had.
driving lessons on a dinosaur, Neil. So I don't remember it. Sorry.
Oh, dear.
Oh, I love you boys. I love you. This is keeping me awake, shall I say? I love this. Well, I just want to say about Gary Neville. I do notice when he does commentate in our games, he does not know when to stop bickering. No, please, someone tell me. Am I wrong in saying it? He just go rambling on, and the man just does not know when to handbrake. What the hell is going on?
He was begging,
yes, George.
praying for an equaliser. You could hear it in his voice so much. Like he was probably in tears more than Postecoglou was at the end of the game.
Spot on.
I don't know if you saw. Did you see the games midweek? And he was commentating. Oh no, it wasn't midweek, was it? It was the Liverpool Everton game.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, I'm enjoying this." And they pan through and suddenly said, "Oh yeah, we've got a score update from Old Trafford, and Man United were losing to Sheffield United or something." It was like, yeah. I was just enjoying the game. Then all of a sudden that come through. Yeah.
Do you know the funny thing is, when he first came on, I actually thought he wasn't bad. I mean, I thought actually as a pundit,
insightful.
He used to be quite, and he used to be quite fair to Arsenal, which I was really shocked at, because obviously we had the biggest. I still will say, and it will forever say that the biggest rivalry in the Premiership has been Arsenal and Man United and Ferguson and Wenger, and he was part of that. And he was coming on, I'm thinking he's actually talking quite fairly and quite well about Arsenal, and then over the last, I don't know how long it's been, he's just turned into a very salty man. And he's so bitter. And, George is spot on there. You could hear it in his voice. He was hoping and praying for that equaliser. You could just tell. And that's the one thing I don't like. We got the argument about refereeing should be, I still think it should be a lot more impartial. I think it should be for overseas, or there should be something should be done about refereeing and the officiating. But also the pundits, some of the pundits that are chosen for certain games, I think they get it all wrong. And you can hear in some of them the bias and the blatant, they're one-sided. And it's just, it kind of ruins the show a little bit. If people are watching at home and they're listening to it. So, I hear people saying that they have to mute them. They just can't stand them. And it's just not fair. And I'll say that even about some of the ex-Arsenal players, they tend to overdo their impartiality at times. I won't name names here, but they do. And you think, come on, guys, just don't overdo it. Just see it as you speak for the game. Don't try and be biased and be impartial. But it just doesn't seem to happen these days. And so I can understand why people get on his case. And in Gary's case, 100%. It's just ridiculous.
It's funny, wasn't it, Neil? There was all the rumours in the week that the guy at Nottingham Forest, I can't remember his name, the big Greek fella. He said, didn't he, that they're banned. He's like, I'm not letting them in.
Yes, they're banned. That's right.
And neither of them, neither Carragher or him, were there. Alan Smith. Okay, he's a Midlands-based guy, so you can understand why he probably went to Nottingham Forest. However, you'd have thought, well, surely you get Smudger to do the Arsenal game, no?
Yeah.
And but no, they kept Neville and that in London and didn't take any of them up there. So you never know. If they're getting banned from stadiums by people now, we might go, now we've had enough of you here as well. You're banned from here as well, but we'll wait and see.
Very good points there all around. I want to say, because we had such a great win, and knowing is our second consecutive win against them, I think, since September 1988, which is the year I was born in. How does that make you feel, guys, to see us again have a nice win again in that place? That our record has been pretty bit iffy in recent years, I think, in that place. If that's the right word.
Yeah, it was good, Bez. I mean, you look at the Emirates, been open nearly 20 years now. They've won there once in the whole 20 years. That new ground's been there, 3 or 4 years? We've already won there twice. So just keeps going to show how media. I mean, that's what is it? It's a fun fair as well as a football stadium. It's a go-karting track. It's everything but a football stadium.
NFL as well.
Yeah, for someone that's not a real, they're not a successful football team, so they might as well build it for everything else. Get more Beyonce and more Red Hot Chili Peppers, I say. because they're
and fake crowd noise as well, and artificial crowd noise. Don't forget that.
yeah, but you know the kings of the artificial crowd noise, mate. We all know who they are, but they get upset when you say it. I'm like, well, you literally have a button on the side of the pitch that plays your theme when you go in there. You know, I watch it on the telly. None of the lips are moving, yet that song's ringing around the stadium. How's that, mate? You know, doesn't make sense to me. But there you go.
Bray, what do you make of it? Since as James saying as well, looking hot and spicy, basically. Then, as he said.
As in, well, are we still talking about the head-to-head, like winning the games, or we?
Well, technically, how are we improving our kind of say more like playing that place? We feel a bit more comfortable recent times, more like yes. If just to touch on.
Yeah, look, it's not been a great place to go. We've had a good share of. Funny enough, before the game, I put on another. I done exactly the same thing. I didn't want to watch Sky, so I put on a foreign stream, that kind of thing, just on my device, and
a legally acquired viewing
yeah,
platform. Yeah, that's what you did. Yeah.
And yeah, what they were doing, they were playing games that Tottenham had beaten us. And the first one was back in 2010-11. And that was obviously at our place. We were ahead. I think we were 2-0 up, and we ended up losing 3-2. And funny enough, I was like, okay, 3-2. Oh, remember that one. And then it went to 2015. We got beat again, and it was like, what are you doing to me? Seeing all these games, I'm trying to get a bit of confidence going on here, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing that, and it was just like, But it's nice to see that we're grinding out results without playing massively well. And I mean, we've seen times where we've played really well against teams that are in and around us, and we don't get the results. That's been a long-term problem where we've gone up against a Man City or even a Man United or whatever. We've still got to overcome that more regularly. But as I say, those times where we're not playing well, but we're getting those results and grinding it out. And I think this season just shows we've taken on that next step, haven't we? When we look at this and when it's all dry now, from 5 points down from last season to then suddenly saying, okay, yeah, we could have just lost the league by say 2 points or a draw or whatever. As it is, if it ends now, that's it. That's what we're saying about it, and we're saying, well, we've only lost once in 2024, and you're suddenly just thinking, well, it's improvement. It's improvement on that side, and at the end of the day, this is what it is. And Tottenham are building up for this for 2 weeks. We've had 4 games.
I think this team is probably the most mature that we've had. We've come close a couple of times. We had that season where Eduardo got injured, and I think if he hadn't been injured, we probably would have gone on to win the league that year or that season. Then we had the one where it was a 2-horse race between Tottenham and Leicester, but we came second behind Leicester, which is great. But we had a chance, I think, then. But this, for me, even putting last season aside, where the irony is actually last season we could have lost twice to Man City and still won the league. It was to the other teams that unfortunately we lost leads which we shouldn't have done. But it's one of those unfortunate things. A lot of it I think was down to Saliba's injury and Tomiyasu's injury in the same Europa Cup game, which completely it weakened our defence. I think too much, but there was obviously other factors involved. But I think this year it's shown a lot of maturity, and I think that was so evident after that double loss against Villa and Bayern, and then to pick ourselves up. Wolves it wasn't an easy game. It wasn't the prettiest game to watch, but we got through it. And then from that, I think that was just the lads were so buoyant that they was able to completely demolish Chelsea. I know Chelsea are not the team they used to be, but boy, did we hand them out a proper spanking. It could have been a lot more than 5 if we had taken our chances as well. So, I think the team has really matured in the sense that they don't get knocked down as easy anymore. They don't keep their heads down. They get up, they scrub themselves down, and then they get on with it. It's pretty much what you guys were talking about Raya earlier, that he made that error, but then he dusted himself down, and he was almost flawless after that. So that one showing there from that one player is epitomised a lot of what this team is all about, or this squad is all about. And you have to include Arteta and the coaching staff behind that as well. You know, he's learning as well. He's you know, a young manager. This is his first ever managerial job. Think about that, guys, just for a second. This is his first ever managerial job, and look what he's doing. He's taken us almost to the title last season. We're still in at the shout this season, and even if we don't do it, at least we can say that this season, for the first time that I can recall, guys, you can correct me if I'm wrong, for a long time, that we have beaten the old top four teams, or the top six. We've got the most points against all of them. You know, we've got 3 off Man U already. I think we've taken 4 off Liverpool and City. We've taken 4 off Chelsea. You know, we're doing it constantly against the bigger teams, which is something we could not do to save our lives just a few seasons ago. So I think all of that sums up a massive improvement. And, you know, I think there's still a long way to go. We're by far the finished article. So even if we don't do it this season, I'm hoping we do, of course, like we all are. But even if we don't, I think, you know, next season we're going to be a real force to be reckoned with. I think we're learning all the time. And just imagine next season we're going to have Timber. Timber is going to be something else.
Yeah, I think you can see it's the balance, isn't it, as well? The balance of it, the whole thing. When we've had all the players, even like the midfield, when we had Ramsey, we had Xhaka. The midfield, we never seemed to have a proper hold or a proper balance, did we? And you'd have the good players, but then you'd be let down because there was no real balance. But there is an idea, there is an identity about everything we do, and it's broken from defence, midfield, and then even you could say loosely the striker, but again, that's still there because we've obviously had Jesus, haven't we, where he's tried to play that a certain way and come back in and kind of link up. So every stage is covered on that side, and that's Arteta and the way he's been, and it's a credit to him and what he should get respect for it, because some people still don't. There's still people out there that still. I mean, as soon as there's a bad moment, it's jump on that bandwagon and start banging the drum. It's the easy target. Is it the answer? No, that's not scoring, is it?
Yeah, balance. I think you're spot on, and also I think you've got to remember after Wenger's golden era, where he tried to almost emulate what Barcelona did with all the very kind of similar players, all technically brilliant, very lot of raw skill in that amongst that group, but we were missing those meatheads, those real powerful players, and that's why we were struggling against the more physical sides. Now I think you're right with the balance. We've got that raw talent, but we've also got the big players, the big strong players. They're not going to be bullied any longer, and I think that is a big part of it as well. And as you say, a proper holding or defensive midfielder. You know, we've got Partey's there. Rice can play in that position. You know, we've got some good guys now that can be there. Jorginho's been doing well when he's been in the team. But the other thing that we must not forget is that the fan base over the last, I think, 24 months has been amazing. You know, we've united finally, and that makes a massive difference. I know the away fans have always been great when they go away, but the home fans, we were so fractious and fighting amongst each other, and it was like as soon as we lost the goal, everyone would like drop, heads would drop. And now when we go behind, you know, the fans get even louder. It's been brilliant. All the games that I've been to over the last 2-3 years, I've not heard atmospheres like it at the Emirates ever. Did at Highbury, but not at the Emirates. It's been magnificent. So a big shout out to the fans as well.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. We noticed that one now. Certainly at home. Bez, you go fairly regularly, don't you? You had my ticket, didn't you, the other week?
I did, certainly. I appreciate you for doing that.
The other week, wasn't it? That's when I was.
My friend, when I meet you in person one day, I will give you the biggest man hug there is, because simply being that game 10 years later to give that spice back to Chelsea was just beautiful. And I'll say this, beautiful, being a present, and thank you again. I was like, wow, it was like almost Christmas has come early for me.
Yeah,
you know?
I was gutted I missed it, but yeah, family.
I promise you, I sang my heart out. It was a bit nippy as well. I had Liam, guys, is the other guy who does a podcast with us, and basically, he literally was like, if you look behind, I could probably hear me yapping like, come on, you fucking good ass. And I was like, oh my god, come on, you know. Oh, I'm still buzzing, bro. I'm still hungover.
Anyway, to confirm if you're singing or not, so that'll be fine. So,
Oh,
yeah, it's
what
fine.
can I say, Dan? What do you say to this? This resilience that this thing shows.
But you know what? On that Chelsea one, how long have we waited just to whoop someone? Like so long, we've seen us be beaten like that, and for us to beat Chelsea 5-0. But do you know what? We've answered so many questions in April. Everyone wants to point out this time last year. We're ticking all the boxes. The Tottenham game 2 seasons ago when we lost away, they're like, "Oh, this is what happened then." Again, we've ticked it. We've gone there. We beat them, and it just shows the upward trajectory we're on. And you can see the progress. And I completely back Arteta because you can see the team's just improving every time. And his signings, they're versatile. They can play so many different positions. They're good, and they always come good. And the proof is in the pudding. And long may it continue. Like we're back and we're here to stay. And that's the good thing. And like you said, we're beating all the teams in the top 6. We're beating all the teams, all of them. Like we've the only team to beat Man City and Liverpool. Them lot drew against each other 2 times. So I'm happy.
George, do you echo what everyone's saying? Do you feel like in cloud nine with this resilience, this mental strength that we have in our squad at the moment?
Yeah, I actually think we've got quite a good squad. There's a couple more positions I want us to improve at, bring people in. But like I say to people, like the ones who, like Bray was saying, they kick off on social media. I still remember watching Mustafi and Squillaci. So that's still a distant memory, and people like and the players that we had then. So the players we've got, they've united the fan base. Like Dan was saying, nice to get Arsenal back. I think, I actually think we'll win the league. I watched Man City today. Well, I didn't watch them. I listened before bracing. And if I don't know if Chris Wood didn't have like nudes on someone or something, like knew how to shoot, I think City could have dropped points there. I think for me, I think the City, they've got Fulham away, and I'm not going to say Tottenham because we all know what's going to happen there. And even West Ham, they ain't got really that easy games. So, but going back to Arsenal's squad, we've got it's what we've all wanted, Bez. Like we wanted to compete for the title, we wanted to challenge for the Champions League. Like it's no kicking the nuts going out to a Bayern Munich team. I know everyone's saying, "Oh, they've had the worst league campaign ever, or out for however many years." But how many teams across Europe have had a really, really bad domestic season and go and win like the Champions League? Right? Look at Chelsea the other year when they were absolutely atrocious and then they won the Champions League. So first season back, quarterfinals. It's all about progress, really. Like we go out and get a striker and what other positions we need, and just focus on the play, really.
Very good stuff there, George. I like that. Very good. Is a question I saw from the stats people, which I won't name them right now. I'm thinking I don't want to give them any credit because it feels like they might just say why you bring it up. But for Marcy is we've scored 16 goals from corners this season, which is quite astonishing from us where we were a couple of years ago, from the other side of the pitch. And for me, I've been craving this and I've been saying this in previous podcasts. Was it not refreshing for you all, and including other fan base of ours who will see this later on or rewatch it? Was it refreshing seeing both Saka and Rice, both in different sides of the corners, and both successfully pinballed it in, and they're still complaining there's a foul in the box? This is what I like about Tottenham. You tell me around as a football fan, surely banter will happen, as Ben White did, trying to play with Vicario's gloves, so trying to pinch it so you can lose on the glove. I saw it a little bit afterwards, and I thought that was great to see that. Great Benny White, as he always does. He's always up for a fight. I love that. But please, I'll go with you, Bray, because obviously I have to give you the first credit. Do you think it's just great to see this, how now we can actually attack from all areas of the pitch?
Well, I think that it gives other teams a lot of guesswork. Saka delivering the ball. Bear in mind, we've had probably year on year of getting loads of corners and not getting past the front man, the first man. The amount of corners we must have had over a period of about 8 or 9 years where we couldn't even beat the first man. So suddenly see now we've got an actual plan, we've got an actual way of working, and we look very dangerous all the time. Rice is he's got a brilliant delivery coming. I like the way he whips the balls in, and Saka's got a little bit of a different delivery, but it is really pleasing to see him because. Yeah, and they are mixing it up all over the shop, aren't they? And you saw from those 2 goals, and there was something obviously we're working on. And a little comment in the chat about the set piece coach. He's earned his money this year, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely has.
I think he's earned his money ever since he's been there. You know,
Yeah.
the first season when Arteta come in, he wanted that guy, and he was still under contract with Manchester City. And he said, look, I want to honour this because they brought me over here. I don't want to leave on a bad note. I want to complete my contract, but then I will come to you straight away. And I think that Arteta has elevated that guy. I think the trust between them two, I don't like to overly dig at Arsene Wenger, but towards the end of Arsene Wenger's tenure, it was like every facet of the game had to be under his control. If you remember when Steve Bold first come in as our assistant coach, we had all these clean sheets and everyone was like, bloody hell, we're defending so much better now, Steve Bold. And then as soon as he was getting too much credit, Wenger reverted and we started letting in sloppy goals again. And it was like, yeah, because you've took the whip a bit away from Steve Bold there. Steve Bold was getting too much credit and you didn't like it. But what I like about Arteta is he, as well as he manages the players on the pitch and he handles everything else, he delegates. He goes, no, do you know what? I'm going to let my set piece guy do this. I'm going to let Stuyvenberg with his headphones do this. He delegates the duties to other people, and every facet of the game now, we're talking about Man City. This is a juggernaut that is financially doped by a state, let alone how good they are at football. They've got cash in them. This is why I say to people go on about, oh yeah, but they're not as great as these Man United sides. Yes, they are greater than the Man United sides that we had in the 90s. Because they've got the money behind it that Man United side in the 90s didn't even have. So not only do they dominate you football-wise, they'll just go and dominate you in the market as well. And this is why it's so important that any facet of the game that we can score from is at the is at the upper echelon of what we can do. And I will say, yes, in terms of set pieces, I think we've equalled our greatest ever year. It was 17, wasn't it? I think 17 goals. So we've equalled that record. And we'll probably score another goal from a corner before the end of the season and break it because we're so good at them. And I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's the video of Bukayo Saka's one filmed from their fans' end. Yeah. And they're all saying, you've let your country down, this, that, and the other. And he whips it and the goal goes in. And then there's another video of them on that side where they're all saying stuff about Declan Rice's wife. And I tell you what, some of them fans would be lucky to be with someone that Declan Rice, Hello Kitty would say goodbye to some of them. That's how ugly they are. So, it's just hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, any facet of the game that you can get an advantage on, take it, because respect is an advantage that an opponent is not entitled to. And I tell you what, you are spot on again there, Bez, when you say about Gary Neville and the rest of Sky, especially Dawson at halftime, going on about, oh, look at Ben White here, look at Ben White there. Yeah. I have quite a long memory because I care about this stuff so much. I remember the first game of the season against Brentford, after everything that went on. They had that throw-in. Bernd Leno, for me, was weak as piss. Yet, everyone from the Arsenal side was like, oh, look at that. I was like, it's not a foul, he's weak. Vicario, for all the praise that he's got, he's piss weak there. He should be, like Ben White did with Cucurella the other day, get off me, throw. He should be going to Ben White, get your hands off my gloves, stop pinching the back of my, stop digging into my hips.
There's got to be resistance, isn't there? If someone's got on you, You're not just going to leave it there, are you? You're going to pull it.
Yeah, but especially when you're a goalkeeper. I know Raya's not the tallest guy, but he owns his size. Own your size. Even if Ben White's bigger or stronger than you, have some other, get off me. You wouldn't let a man in the street come and touch you. So on a football pitch, it's ridiculous. I'm like, stop claiming it's a foul and everything. Blame your goalkeeper for being weak, because it was weak goalkeeping. That's all it was. And fair play to Ben White knows what he's doing. He's done this with tons of teams this season.
Yeah.
Neil, what do you say to that?
I don't know. I think the guys have said it, summed it up. I mean, I will just say one thing, and James knows me, and I agree with pretty much everything he says, and I agree with what he said about Arsene Wenger. I think he was a bit of a control freak. There was that patch, you're right, that we were doing so well, and all of a sudden it all started going pear-shaped, wasn't it? He was almost become a silent man, Steve Bold, didn't he? And I love Steve Bold. I grew up in all that era, and I was like, great, he's on the coach. He's there. He's our set piece coach, and he's like, he's going to really help our defense and blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden, it's like he's just almost sitting there in silence. And remember, in the games, he should be there on the sidelines, like nothing. Whereas remember with Pat Rice, there used to be a lot of conversation between Wenger and Pat Rice, and I just thought, what is Steve Bold doing? What is going on here? Is he being told not to say anything? But I think also just in favour of Wenger a little bit, I think it being almost drilled into him. It was almost like not brainwashed, but after David Dein departed, I think all the responsibility fell on Wenger. Maybe not through his own making, but it was just all handed to him. And I think that didn't help his cause, because before, I think predominantly he was just a football coach and a football manager. And then all of a sudden he had the responsibility for everything. He was heavily involved in even the stadium and the new stadium, etc. And I think because of that, I think it just almost became almost something that he had to do. He had to just take control of everything. And maybe that played a part. I'm not trying to defend it at all, James. I'm not even trying to cut it.
He was spread too thin, wasn't he, Neil?
Sorry?
He was spread too thin across everything.
That's it. It's like always exactly that. The analogy of butter, when you've got a little bit of butter left and you've got like 4 slices of toast to butter, is like it doesn't work. And I always felt that Wenger was
you had the
a victim of that.
The banks
to
wouldn't
save money,
alone, would they? The banks wouldn't do it unless they had his signature on it, and that was it. And that was one of the other things.
Exactly. But
you even just look at even just how it was, and when he signed that last contract, and everyone was obviously saying, "Oh, why has he signed another contract?" And it was like, well, the reason why, we had no one behind to then suddenly, if he went, not only have we got to go and replace the manager, we've got to find an Edu, we've got to find someone else, we've got to find someone else. That is a big overhaul, and you're suddenly thinking that weren't there. And that 2-year period, they started to kind of get their acts in gear and started employing stuff. Yeah, it didn't go right in the first guys, but we're here now.
So, yeah, exactly. And look, a massive testament has to go to Wenger's period, because I think for him to have still managed to get us into 20 consecutive Champions League competitions. I think it was 20. I can't remember the exact number. But, he was doing that with a team that had the likes of Shamak in it and Bentner. And I'm not trying to disrespect those players, but, we had Stepanovs in defence. He was getting top 4 with players like this. So you've got to give the man credit for all of that. But, yeah, I do feel, James is right. I think he did almost feel that it was almost his responsibility to take control, and probably a little bit too much. Just going on the set piece, the way it's all changed, the coaching, what it's done. For me, what I really love is the movement in the box before that. The corner is taken. That Kai Havertz, the way he moves from the far post to the near post and all of that, just to bamboozle the defence. I absolutely love that. I watched that over and over again on the replay when we scored that penalty from the corner, and I'm like, wow, this is great. And this things that we never used to do before. That set piece coach deserves his own award this season, because he's been magnificent. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Dan, you waited a long time. What do you have to say?
Sorry, what was that?
No, I'm saying you waited a long time to respond to that answer. Please, the stage is all yours. Say your piece.
Oh, mate, listen, I completely agree with everything you're all saying. I mean, like I said, set piece coach. He could be signing of the season, and it's just that we're getting goals from all like open play, set pieces, and they're coming in, and it's perfect. And to compete against Man City, these are the things we need to do. Like Arteta and his team, they're thinking outside the box. They're looking at all these other areas where we can max out, so we can get more goals and ultimately get more wins, get more points on the board. So I'm super happy. We're improving every time, and I just feel like maybe we're now 1-2 signings off really being a dominant force, because it's just fine margins now. Maybe we could do that striker still, but Havertz, his stats compared to the first half of the season, like they're incredible. And if he could like do that from the start of next season and carry that for a whole season, he could be our star man up front as well.
Good shout. George, did you see anything you could touch on that? Anything you could add to it?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everyone, but I think like with the set piece specialist, I think we've proper escalated into one of the most threatening teams in Europe. Not just, wouldn't say just in England. Yeah, but it's important to get goals from all over the place, because you look at the teams who win these titles, that's what they do. The amount of defenders they have that score goals, the kind of proofs in the pudding there. Going back to the striker thing, I'm probably going to get this is controversy, and I love Kai Havertz, but I don't think he's our 20-25 goal season goal scorer that we need. I think he's brilliant. Would I have him as a second choice striker or a different option? Absolutely. I think he offers a lot more than Jesus, and Bray knows how much I love Edin and Ketia. And that's me being sarcastic.
I thought you had a shirt with his name on the back.
No. I already upset his auntie, mate. You know what I mean? I don't need to do anything else. So I do think we need to, in the summer, go out and get that 20 goal, 25 to be alongside Kai Havertz. Who that striker is, I don't know.
But George, just to ask you, that I heard yesterday one of my youngsters scored 7 goals in his reserves game, I think, if I'm correct. So we can use Martin Obi if I'm saying his name correct.
Yeah, I saw that. Need someone like that. But I just
he's 6'3" as well, so he's
Oh,
only
wow.
he's only an inch shorter than Havertz is. So yeah, he could do that job.
Yeah. I know that sounds really, that it might sound harsh on Kai Havertz because how well he's done. I just think sometimes there's levels, and yeah, he's doing really, really well up front. He's putting the goals there when he needs to at the moment. But from the summer, if we are looking at a number 9, Arsenal need to go out and say, you know what, put that statement down. Because let's be real, Liverpool, who invented everything in the world, ain't going to be that strong next season, I don't think. If you've got 2 strikers like, say, Kai Havertz and whoever they're going to sign, it's more goals again. It's fine margins, isn't it? Like if you go back through the season, if we had earlier in the season, if we had a goal scorer who is really clinical, there might be less drop points against teams that we shouldn't have dropped against.
I think you make a really good point, George, as well, because if he carries on the run that he's on now till the end of the season,
yeah,
and then they've got a home Euros, Germany. If he, me personally right now, if you're saying to me who's the favourite for the Euros, I'm going to still pick France. I think France have got so much in so many different areas that they should be winning it at a canter. And if they don't win it, it'd be bloody embarrassing. But if he would lead Germany through a home Euros playing up front, which he probably will, and he wins that as well as potentially winning Arsenal the league, I think it's going to be very, very difficult from next season, regardless of who we buy, going to Kai Havertz. Oh, by the way, you're not the number 1 striker here anymore. And also, you can't put him back in the midfield.
No, definitely not.
We've said it, haven't we, Neil, for ages? Kai Havertz in midfield hurts us. Kai Havertz up front hurts other teams. That's what we. So for me, he has to stay as a striker now, and it goes to you think then and there. It goes back to the very first question that you asked about the winger and helping Saka and Martinelli and what have you. You know, obviously Trossard's not getting any younger. Do you spend the main cusp of your money on an out-and-out winger that can give Saka a break, that can give Martinelli a break, but also he doesn't just score 1 or 2 goals here and there. He's just as prolific. You know, could we get somebody that could be on the level of what Mo Salah used to be like for Liverpool? And you can have it, or you know, Jota. He doesn't start every game, but he's prolific. He will get. You know, you might not need a forward that gets you 20 to 25, but you've got a winger there that gets you 15 to 18. And that's the things that we got to balance. I'm with you, George. I still believe we need to go get an elite number 9 because, as well as I don't think Eddie Nketiah is good enough for this club, I don't think Jesus is either.
No,
So I wouldn't be upset if we sold both of them in the summer and bought an elite level winger to compete with the 2 that we've got there, and another, you know, class number 9, that 25 to 30 goal a season number 9. Because yeah, I still agree. However well Havertz has done now, I don't see him getting 25 to 30 goals a season.
no, and like for me, that's hard for me to say because I love Havertz from.
Oh yeah, he completely turned me around.
Yeah, but what I say is like we're looking at strikers as well. Like if people that watch other European football, Real Madrid are getting Mbappe. You all know that. So and they're looking at Alphonso Davies. This sort of thing costs money. If someone like Rodrigo come available on that market, I would be biting Real Madrid's hand off on that to play on. And then that's someone like what you were saying, mate, like that Mo Salah sort of level. Because I think Rodrigo's amazing. But you don't. So I think the pressure is on Havertz for himself. If he delivers, say we win the title, or even if we don't, but with the Euros, if he can prove that he can, then like you say, it's going to be a hard question. But there's players out there that, because I don't think there's that many elite number 9s out there at the moment. But if you've got, say, Saka scoring double-digit goals, whoever your striker is going to be, and then you've got someone like you could easily buy someone on the left wing that scores you 20 goals. So, and I agree, like selling Jesus and Nketiah is what's got to happen for me in the summer. I don't think that'll happen because I don't think they'll sell Jesus. But there's no reason. I'm done with these conversations with people and they say, well, why would they go to Arsenal? Like that really annoys me. Why wouldn't they go to Arsenal? We're title challengers. We're going far in Champions Leagues. So why wouldn't these top players go to Arsenal Football Club? No one said that when Mesut Ozil and Alexis Sanchez done it.
Very good point there, George. Why wouldn't they come to Arsenal? My last 2 bits, and before we wrap up, I just want to ask these 2 last bits, and then you guys can ask me yourself anything you want to add near the end. From also in the game, for myself, I did think Havertz had the better game, and from also in the in the post-match, drama, they call it a bit of an emotional ride, is that what I called it? So I need to watch the whole post-match interview. Do you think Big Gabriel Magalhaes deserved the man of the match, or do you think Havertz had the better game than him?
I was baffled when Gabriel got it, and I saw that Gabriel got it. I thought Kai Havertz, goal and an assist, but also, again, I go back to what I said earlier. I thought we played the best 2 centre-backs in the league and the world today, according to what I've seen on social media. Well, he gave them an absolutely torrid time. They didn't know what to do. They were like, if we double up on him, he's gonna play one of them 2 in behind us. If we ping him in the air, he's beating to us to every aerial ball. They did not know what to do. They were like, do we get tight or do we allow him the space? And that's the best compliment I can give him. I thought he was superb. I was shocked that Havertz didn't get man of the match today. But what I do like is that when we win these games, and we've won, like we said earlier, we've only lost 1 this year. When you ask people who was your man of the match, you get 3 or 4 answers. And that just goes to show how better, like Neil said with the signings, and like you said as well, Dan, it just goes to show how better the team's getting, because you get 3 or 4 different answers. You know, people go, I thought this player was the best today, actually. You know, I saw some people go, I thought Ben White was man of the match actually today. I thought Gabriel was. I thought this one was. And that's what I love. I love that there's so many different conversations that are had, because all of them as a collective are doing so well. But yeah, it should have been Havertz for me. I thought he was class.
Yeah, I ran a vote on Twitter on the channel. We got 63% for Havertz. So yeah, I don't know.
Again, it's a testament to how far we've come, guys. It's you know, to be able to have several or multiple candidates every single game, more or less, this season. It just goes to show how a complete team performance, or performances, we are, you know, seeing from the squad, from how Arteta sets up. You know, sometimes you watch a match and you can say that, okay, there's a clear standout candidate for man of the match. But if like what James was just saying, and I'm sure all of you guys have alluded to it, at the end of the day, you know, if you've got several candidates and one person might see it slightly different to another, that doesn't mean that that person is wrong or right. It's just going to show how good the quality is. You know, I personally thought Kai Havertz would probably just nip it, but you know, it just because Gabriel got it, it doesn't mean that that's the wrong decision. I have to say though, that assist from Kai, that was one hell of a pass. It was superb. I mean, to me, it just I hear George and James, what you were saying earlier, that he's probably not going to be a 20 to 25, but if he's got, what is it, 50, how many has he got now, 15? I don't know how many goals he's got now.
Yeah, 15. Yeah.
Right, so that's 15, where, you know, you've still got 3 games, you might get another 1 or 2, we don't know. That's not a bad turnaround for someone whose first season, who had literally been written off. He got a lot of stick from many people for him to have achieved that. But it's not just his goals. You know, we all talk about Jesus, that he's not a prolific goal scorer, but it's the other stuff he does. But I see Kai actually scoring goals and doing the other stuff. I see a bit of both. He is a real nuisance in that top half of the pitch. He really is. He because of his physical strength, he reminds me of a little. It's like what Giroud used to do, but I think he's a better Giroud. And believe, don't take this the wrong way. I love Giroud. I think we should never have got rid of him, by the way. Yeah. I thought he was a superb player, but he was better coming off the bench. And he did not want to be a substitute all the time. And I think I can understand the reasons why he might have wanted to leave. But I just feel that he's almost a better player than Giroud was. He's more complete. And he's, whilst Giroud just scored wonder goals, and he did, boy, did he score some great goals. You know, Kai Havertz is really finding the net, not just with his feet, but he's putting headers in. And he's the player that I now saw and on YouTube, when I heard that we got him, before he came to Chelsea, when he was in, you know, God, I've now forgotten what team he was with. But the team, there you go, Leverkusen. I'm seeing that Kai Havertz now. When he'd won, did he win Player of the Year for Leverkusen as well, or something? He got some accolade.
He'd won German's Young Player of the Year.
That's it. There you go.
We were linked with him, and then he ended up at Chelsea.
Well, as most of our players do.
Yeah, but Neil, you got to remember back then he was playing where Saka plays now.
Yeah.
So he's altered his game from that player into this forward now, and like George was saying as well, can't have Kai Havertz anywhere for Arsenal other than up front. And he's earned the right. He's earned the right to do it.
And this is the beauty. You see, I think, was it Dan? Or I can't remember. It was Dan or Paul who said earlier that I think it was Dan. You know, you mentioned about the versatility in the players. This is it. This is showing it. We got Ben White as a centre back. Look at him. He's one of the best right backs in the country, if not the best. It's just superb that all our players. Saka, if you remember, we were used to laugh and joke, didn't we, James? Before that, you know, he could probably play in every position, including the goalkeeping position. He'd still do well. You know, we have got a great squad here, and things can only get better. And look, if we don't get it this season, we are going to win the title. And not only win the title, as I've always said, we are doing the unbeaten quad. Mark my words.
Can't follow that one up.
apart from Stephen.
But I think Havertz has got a lot of his goals and assists since like January. So if you look at the period of time that he's got all his goals and assists, he is looking really good. And I would like to see him over a season what he could do in the number 9 role. But maybe we should also get a striker in. We've got to have a squad if we want to go for it all.
Yeah, I think it's confidence as well with him as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you get that confidence all fully going, and he's actually got that season where he's actually loved and he's actually going to do it, then yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
Can I just say, Michael, who's on who does the Arsenal Above All podcast, he just messaged and said, "Don't forget to say, Neil, that Timber actually played 70 minutes today and he did really well. So Timber is on his comeback. That goal he scored as well the other day. Oh my God! So Timber, you know, that's going to be a brand new signing for us next season, and I just cannot wait. I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead again. I should be thrilled about us potentially winning the season title this season, but you know, you can't help but think that we are going to have one with a couple more additions, as you guys are alluding to, maybe a really good, strong striker up front, maybe, and a couple of other positions filled. God, we are going to be formidable, I think.
Yeah, and you make a great point as well about it being in January and how important that's been. If you remember, there was a German that used to play for Man City, he now plays for Barcelona. For whatever reason, after the winter break, it was like they put him captive or put him in a cage. They just used to poke him with a stick, and then he'd come out after Christmas and just absolutely murder everybody. And now we've got the German that's doing it, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, George, you mentioned earlier about Roman Reigns. Kai Havertz since January has been like Stone Cold Steve Austin that time when he beat up all the Alliance on his own and he was just swinging the chair at all of them. That's how Kai Havertz has come into it now. He's like, no, and this is what you want. This is someone, again, like I said about David Raya, going, it's my, taking accountability, going, it's my moment. Well, I think at the moment Kai Havertz he's loving every single second of this, and they all love him. Look at when he scored. Gabriel doing his celebration in his face. All of them are jumping on board like, yeah, I'll have some of that with you. Yeah, it's just great. It's great to see.
The person I will say I think hasn't really been mentioned on today's game, who I thought stood, and I know he's been doing it for a while. I thought Saka in that first half was dancing all over Tottenham. Like, to be fair, and I know recently people said, "Oh, he should be rested," or he ain't playing as well. But to get an assist and score a quite important goal in the North London derby when the title race at his age, for me, Saka just baffles me. The skill level he has. If he doesn't win a Ballon d'Or by the time he's retired, then I'll be shocked.
Yeah, Henry never got it, did he, George? Either he should have done.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that causes me concern. But I just think, from what Saka, like a player, a man of the match candidate, nothing. But I just think how recently people said, "Oh, he looked shattered" and all that. What he done today, I thought he played really, really well.
Yeah, I agree, Georgie. That second goal came at such an important time because Tottenham were getting a bit of the ball and we wasn't keeping the ball well either. And they got that offside goal just before that, I think it was. And just to take that finish at that time and so clinical as well, it just completely just gave them no hope at that point. And then we went on to get our third, and obviously what happened in the second half. But it was such an important time.
Yeah, and anyone who taunts Tottenham is a hero. Those fans. And I thought the one was funny when the fans started to try Declan Rice as well. That quite funny.
Yeah. I mean, we've all seen it with Saka in that when you get to the last 5-10 games of the season, because of how much he's been played, he does tire out. But I thought today, I think you're spot on, George. I thought today he was brilliant. I think he had the most touches. I think he won the most tackles. I think he had the most duels won. He won the most fouls for us. And yeah, especially that first half, absolute nuisance. And the goal as well, I think it gets better every time you watch it.
Yeah. Just want to branch off a little bit. Sorry, excuse the noise. Dave Mack, evening. He sent a question in. Just want to get your thoughts on Martinelli, everyone. It's just seemed to have gone off on or off the boil, but he's kind of been like that, hasn't he? Where he's had a good patch, and then he's had a little lull, and then it's what I mean. Then it comes good again. But he looked like he'd started to come good, and then he got injured, didn't he, against Sheffield United? Didn't he? Got that cut on his foot or whatever. And it's what are your thoughts on him and his progression? Really, is he in danger of potentially really going down the kind of pecking order?
I'll jump in. I absolutely love Martinelli. Ever since I saw him in that friendly, James knows the story, and he was one point where he was running through the midfield. I thought he's going to be a class centre forward. I always thought he was going to be a great a central forward player, not on the wings. I thought he was going to become one of the best in the world, and I've always had such high hopes for him. I guess I had high hopes for players like Jack Wilshere. Unfortunately, he was riddled with injuries and whatnot, and it does happen with certain players. And I'll be completely honest, and again, I might be sounding negative, like I might have earlier about Raya, and it wasn't meant to come across that way. But I don't think he's progressed as much as he should have. He's maybe one of the players that hasn't. Now, I don't know what's happened recently. If we kind of isolate it a little bit, and recently, I don't know whether there's an internal issue, whether it's a personal issue, whether it's the injury, as you just mentioned, or is there something else going on? Has he had a loss of confidence or form? Because you remember when in the Chelsea game, he had a couple of really good chances, especially one where he was one-on-one with the keeper. Earlier in the season, I think he would have banged that in without even thinking about it. And he just couldn't do it. And it could be a loss of form. It could be something that injury might have been more serious than we all thought, or it's affected him mentally in a weird way. But he's not doing what I would have liked to see him doing by now. I remember when he first started playing under, I think it was Unai, wasn't he? And he was linking up with Tierney really well on the left. I thought that was probably some of the best I've seen him play. And everyone was going mad about this kid. And so much so that Klopp wanted him. Klopp did not make he wasn't silent or, kept that to himself. He made it very clear that he was interested in Martinelli and he really liked the player. I'm not quite sure what's happened. I could be well off the mark here. I'm just hoping it's just a bad patch and maybe, we'll see something good come of him very, very soon. And it could be as early as the next match. Maybe you should throw him in against. We've got Bournemouth at home. Maybe not start Trossard and maybe play Martinelli and see what he can do. And maybe he'll be back to normal. But I've just seen a dip in him lately. But I just wished his progression was a little bit better than it has been. But that's just a personal opinion.
I do agree with that. What I've questioned this season is, could Martinelli's lack of form, because it is definitely lack of form, like you said, mate, he would have scored that against Chelsea. I just wonder, is it that left side, like where 1 minute it's been Zinchenko, then or before that it was Timber, then you've had Kivior,
Great point.
Tomiyasu, then even there's been issues with the left 8. It's either Havertz or Rice or whoever. So I just wonder, like we saw the best, I feel like when Xhaka was there, he brought Gabriel Martinelli into the game a lot more. He looked more dangerous. So I just wonder, I'm not a manager, but I just wonder, is it that left side that's caused him to lose that confidence? Because if we're looking going forward, it sounds really ruthless, but Martinelli's position is up for grabs massively.
Yeah, I don't know what you think, James, about the whole inverted. Well, that's another question. the inverted wing of the inverted left back. Obviously, when Tierney was there, obviously he'd be still being the orthodox bomb forward, try and make the runs and kind of help out Martinelli. Martinelli just seems a little bit isolated, just like Trossard. Just I think with the way that kind of inverted one comes in, then you're banking on that left-sided 8 to kind of come in and try and help out and try and get in those positions, as well as then the number 9. It just didn't seem that was happening. Do you think that might have been the reason why potentially we're seeing this, or?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are hurting my head today and my neck with all the nodding that I've had to do because I keep agreeing with everything that you all keep saying. Might end up wearing a neck brace or something by the end of the show. But yeah, I again, George, great point in that position. The 2 that are behind him have switched so often, And now I think you're seeing a bit of consistency, and it's like we're more inverting from the right-hand side than we are the left-hand side. And I think that, for me, he's definitely off the boil, but there's still enough. If he wasn't running and getting the chances that he's getting, then I'd be even more worried. But he's still putting himself in those positions. It's just the final application of it isn't what we normally see from him. But yeah, Martinelli's still an important player, and he's still a great player. And again, George, I hate to exclude you here, mate, from it. But
No.
if you guys watch and see it, for whatever reason, Arteta goes at Martinelli more than anybody else. He's constantly in his ear. And there was a game a few games back, Neil, if you remember, because we mentioned it, didn't we? Where he actually put his hand up and was if to be like, F off and let me play my game.
Yeah.
But today he pulled him over twice and was like, when there was breaks in play, and he was like, yep. So I think it's, everyone keeps going on about how much more we're in control. I think sometimes surrender a little bit of that control to let a maverick player like Martinelli go. And Neil makes a great point as well, as per when he went away with Brazil, they actually played him as the centre forward in the 9 because Richarlison's obviously had everything that's been going on with him, and Jesus wasn't there. I can't remember the other one that they had was injured. And he said about how playing up front was the most freeing thing that he's done in such a long time. And he loved it, and he wished he could get to do it more. And I still think to myself, your best position is not out on that left-hand side. And when you eventually go down the middle, it could be game over for everybody. A bit like, I don't like to compare them. However, when Cristiano first come in, he was always out wide. And then eventually he moved in the middle. I've seen some headers from Martinelli that are very Cristiano-esque. There's that main one from the Europa League game where Tierney whipped that ball in. And the way he jumped, you were like, you've got no right to get that high and head that ball down like you did. But he's got that Ronaldo type athleticism in him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you could mould one of the greatest 9s here if you wanted to. But I think Arteta's like, but he contributes so much out wide still as well.
Yeah.
So, and at times he basically moves into the middle. So he's basically a striker, even though he's playing out left, he's basically cutting in and playing as a striker anyway. So yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, I do agree, George, as well, where you said that his position could be up for grabs if he doesn't get back. But it's one of them. It's the cliche about the London buses. As soon as Martinelli scores one, there'll be more. He'll
James, how long have I advocated that he plays on right in the middle, right from the beginning of the night?
From when you saw him run against Fiorentina in that pre-season game.
Thank you. There you go. That's
I've thought about that. We've had many conversations on this channel about him being more central. My only reservation with him, and so I said, I'd love to see him do it. I just think he might just get bashed up quite a bit by the defenders. I don't think he's got that real physicality that can go toe to toe with two solid central defenders and then get proper change from it. Great running past and turning maybe and getting into the space behind, but I don't know. That's my only potential thing where I'd suddenly think we would. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing him with more space out wide and being able to kind of impose himself on the game. But again, in those kind of rough and ready areas, is he going to have that kind of ability to kind of do it and then even ride tackles and actually get back up after being clobbered or crunched? That's the big thing, and you do wonder about it. But that's the big problem, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, I think he would. Like I feel like with Martinelli, I don't think he's a left winger. I think I've said for a little while I like to see him up front. Like we know how players' positions change. Let's be real. Bukayo Saka, left back. I do think Martinelli has it in him. Like if he's going to get a whack, he will get back up. I know he's had a few problems, but I would not be surprised if Arsenal went for a left winger in the summer. That doesn't mean Martinelli gets sold, but that might mean that Martinelli as a squad player can be moved to being Gabriel Jesus' replacement.
Yeah, well, like I said, at the end of the day, there isn't a huge difference between them two anyway. But one goal which was brilliant, Stamford Bridge.
I just want to say it too. That one, I'll never forget that
That's
one.
when you saw that, and you suddenly just saw it go past. Who fell on the floor?
Kante.
Kante,
Yeah. Sorry, it weren't Steven Gerrard. But yeah, Kante fell on the floor, and he just went past.
This,
And look, he's got bags of pace, and look, if you've got the ability, and we play to that kind of strength to get in behind, then great. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
But here,
Arteta had a plan, I'm sure.
I might have it wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Ronaldo, not the Cristiano, the other Ronaldo, said that Martinelli, for him, was the best Brazilian finisher that he's seen. And I think he knows. I think he knows his stuff, doesn't he?
Certainly does.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Anything else from you, Pez? Have you got any?
just the last one to touch on the last few fixtures of the season and pretty much wrap up. That's all good to say to that.
Yeah, cool. Okay. I'll just do a quick note on the under 18s as well, just before we go into the next ones. Everyone see the result?
No.
No, I haven't. Not.
You didn't. No, sorry, George. 9-0 against Norwich City under 18s. Obi.
Nice tight game.
Yeah, nice tight game. Obi got 7 goals.
Oh, God.
Unbelievable. This guy is. Yeah, if you can get a chance to watch the highlights, some really good goals. He scored 7, and he had a chance for an 8th, and he kind of turned the defender to come back on himself and have a shot, and then someone come running onto it, spanked it in the top corner.
Nice.
So so it looks a very interesting one. For the next 2 years, I think the development will be quite interesting to see where they put him.
How old is he?
18.
16. No, 16, isn't it?
He's only 16.
Oh, God, I thought he was 18.
Wow.
I thought he was.
16.
So it will be a couple of seasons before he potentially breaks into the first team then, isn't it?
Yeah. As I say,
Okay.
I think he started playing a couple of years above. Yes, I think he started playing. Like when he was like 15.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Only 14.
it might have been because it's around the similar time of Wanyeri, wasn't it? When Wanyeri went through, then it was about maybe say 9 months further on.
God bless Wikipedia. He's 16. There you go.
There you go.
You were right. I was wrong. Apologies.
So that was good. So he's done well there. And then the under 21s played today as well. Liverpool won 2-0. And Kozia Dubry scored 2. Second one. Go and watch that.
Nice.
He absolutely spanked it into the top corner.
Just get them all on the plane to America. Get them all
Yeah.
on the plane to watch them. If they start doing it there, integrate them in.
Yeah.
So Emerson is,
or at least get them on, get them on loans, but don't loan them to these clubs abroad. Loan them within the league. Chelsea, as much as I hate them, back in the day when they were in their heyday, used to loan all their players they didn't want within the league. Look at Conor Gallagher when he was at Palace. The amount of big teams he took points against because he wasn't going to get in Chelsea at the time, but they knew he was good enough that he could score goals and take points. That's what we need to be doing. Loan them within the league. Give them to clubs within the league, and then it will help us because they'll either they'll flourish and get better, or if we don't want them anymore, we'll sell them on. That's what we need to be doing.
That's what I've been saying for a while. Now is the time for these players to go sending Coutinho to lower level championship teams. What are we learning from that? Nothing. So why not send some of our loan players to teams that are coming up who have been promoted from the championship or top end of the championship? Like when Jack Wilshere, he went to Bolton, didn't he, on loan? And then from that sense, so say someone like Minari or even Kozia Dubry, why not go to Leicester and say you fancy them for a season?
Again, it's down to that. Obviously, they'll be seeing the players, wouldn't they? And again, if we can only say loan us, say Patino to a championship side, it says a lot. Then, doesn't it? Really, it's like, well, no one wants to take a gamble on him. No one wants to take him at a higher level. I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's physical enough. That's where you had all the high hopes, didn't we? When they were coming out, when he scored his goal in the Carabao Cup at the Emirates, and then it was like, oh, he's going to be the next one. And then, yeah, you look at it. I don't think he's filled out yet. Still young, but as I say, whether or not he's got the time at a place like Arsenal at this time, I don't think it's going to happen for him. So yeah, get the money. I think while it's there.
Walters is the one that I question, like the centre defender. Like he's been around he either needs to go out on loan to see if he's ready to make, but to a Premier League team.
Yeah. So now's the time. I think now we're wise on it. Now we've got to start selling players, haven't we? That are coming through. There's no point holding on to them. There's no point loaning him out to a Championship or a League One team. It's a long road to get into the first team, let alone do that and then keep coming back in and reassessing it every year. Get the money, get the value for it, and then improve what we've got here. And if he goes and does something over the next 5-6 years, then we can say fair play. That's a Hale End product. And if he does get better, then we've got a chance. Put a clause in the contract. We can buy him back. Just just be savvy about it and just get the money while it needs to be. Bez, I'm handing over to you now because I've just kind of pulled rank on those comments, but that's all done now. We're all fine.
Cool. Just the last bit then, so we can wrap up. I guess I don't want to keep it on too long. Without getting too ahead of ourselves, I know it's only 3 games to the season. We've got Bournemouth next Saturday, then United the next one after that on the Sunday. Last but not least, Everton on the last, I guess, day of the season. I know you guys already touched on this already, but would you guys say maybe kind of mini rotate a little bit for next Saturday, a little bit?
I would swap Trossard for
Martinelli.
I'd swap Trossard for Martinelli. But other than that, I think everything else is pretty much fine.
Sure.
I'd be watching Partey before that Man United game because every other, what I would call big game this season, he's always had Jorginho, Rice and Odegaard. And he could well think to myself, Man United, I want a bit more of the control and the brain of a Jorginho over than the athleticism and everything else of a Partey. So I'd watch them too. But other than that, unless someone, and touch wood there, doesn't get hurt, I don't see anything that really needs a change, Bez.
Yeah.
Good shot.
Yeah, I think the only way you can look at it is the progressive passing from Partey. The passes forward, the way you can look and see passes forward through into those attacking spaces. But again, if we've got a sharp, proper fit Thomas Partey, it's better than a half-cooked still one that's still trying to feel it and find his feet. Remember that first game he come back and it looked like almost lost the knack to run. Just like couldn't put each foot in front of him. It just seemed a little bit awkward. But then gradually, as he's got the minutes into his legs, he's just seems a bit more assured. And to do 90 minutes today, I thought that was quite good. Certainly for him. So hopefully he does another. He will certainly get equal game time or whatever like that, 50 minutes or whatever, and then Jorginho comes in and has a proper control moment, or it's vice versa. Jorginho for 50 minutes and then finish it off 40 minutes for Partey, and then I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But look, we're at this situation where we're now like, who do we put in? It's normally like by default, isn't it?
Good headache to have.
Yeah, by default we're going to chuck. Yeah, we normally got about 5 or 7 kind of 15-year-olds on the bench. Now we've actually got a bench of of men now. So yeah.
I would, if the circumstance was slightly different as far as Man City are concerned, I would definitely bring Silva and Wiltord back out of retirement and get him to play against Manchester United to score the winner and us win the title there for the second time.
Yeah, I'll see that. I paid money for that. How many tickets? But it's Spurs.
Him or Overmars, Neil? Who would you rather out of
Oh,
them two?
both.
Who would you rather come back and score against Man United? Overmars
Both.
or him? I'll
Both.
tell you what, I don't want Adebayor or score against Man United and win us a game anymore.
Oh, actually, even Freddie Ljungberg, because he used to like to score against them as well from an assist from Bergkamp. Yeah. Oh, good old days. Sorry, that just shows my age. I'll just shut up. I'll go with the guys. I think it's just Martinelli.
I hope that shirt you're bringing out of that Ziploc bag, Bez, because
there
it is.
There you go. There you see.
It's a bit damaged. I need to fix it up. It's sadly the stitching is going a bit off. You can see it from the camera there, which I'm a bit sad about. You
need to get Will towards the back of that, mate. Get Silva.
I know. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I just grew up to live with this memory of the shirt, man. Dan, take it away. Take it away, Dan. What you got to say for yourself?
Yeah, no, do you know what? I was thinking about it. I feel like the season's such a long season. And I remember maybe the first third of the season, I was thinking, I want to see Trossard. And Martinelli was playing majority of the games. And he's, like you say, he's not had a great season, and then Trossard started playing, and he's been doing so well. And I can see why he stayed in. Sometimes he does go a bit quiet, but you can see why he's there, because he's got that quality. And he's just got this ability to score goals, and usually sometimes scores the first goal, which is so important just to get us going. So yeah, but I'm happy to see Martinelli come back in as well. I think it's his time. I think he's been on the bench long enough now, and he's ready, and he's waiting to go, and he can be a massive impact for his last few games as well. So,
Georgie, what do you have to say to it too? What do you have to finish up with?
Yeah, I'd like to wrap Party in the bottom wall before Man United, so I wouldn't mind Jorginho come in, and maybe Martinelli for Trossard, and then I think we should have enough against Bournemouth, famous last. So
it's an awkward game.
Yeah.
It has been historically an awkward game as well.
It won't be easy, Bournemouth, but I think we should still have enough.
Yeah.
And just for the back level, last game of the season, I hope they bring on Cedric in the last 5 minutes. He don't get the credit he deserves. Like, I have never known someone who can walk a dog that well and photobomb. What's done? So fair play.
Fair play. Well, it's been great having you on board, guys. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and thank you all for chipping in. And also, I'll give credit to Dan because his first podcast, which I'm sure
no
it's never
done,
easy
Dan.
to
Yeah, well
give it all the years.
Guys, really good.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, Bez, thank you for coming on. I weren't expected to be here tonight, so that's hence why Bez has stepped up. And
neither was I till Bez asked me.
Yeah.
I know, but you knew what just made Dan was just like out of the blue, and John said, "I'm seeing all three." I was like, "My God, all three are here!" Like, holy cow!
Thanks for having me, guys, as well. It's been a pleasure. Obviously, I know James and I know you, Bez, but although I've had a little bit of an interaction with you, George, I've never met Dan and Paul, so great to meet the two of you. And it's been an honour. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you very much.
I'd just get you back on again because some really good stuff. Neil, James, really good.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
As well, brilliant. George, always really good as well. Thank you very much. And is anyone up at the Arsenal on Saturday?
Not me this time.
I might go by the Tollington myself because I don't have a ticket, but I might go to Tollington.
Oh, everyone failed a ballot. I'm so shocked. Oh no!
Oh, it's been really hit and miss, that ballot, honestly. And some people not any success from it at all.
I don't believe it. Oh, what? I'm so shocked.
I've missed more ballots than I've actually entered, but I think I've entered 6 ballots or maybe 8 ballots, and I managed to get 2 games.
Yeah.
And one
I
I
think
went to.
I've been slightly luckier, but it's still not good enough. I think
No, it's rubbish. It's rubbish for it.
It's awful. It's just not fair, especially for those loyal fans that have been going for years and years as well. I'm not saying there should be any prejudice against anyone, because even a new fan's got every right to go. But it's just not a fair system. I don't think it is. Why should we just have the luck of the draw to go and watch the team we love? It just doesn't make any sense.
250,000 members for 13,000 tickets.
Yeah, but what annoys me is that you can still become a Red member, although they're so oversubscribed. You can still join.
They did stop it though before the. I'm guessing they've stopped it because they didn't want a repeat of Cologne, where the fans just buying up the ticket or the memberships and then suddenly buying all the Arsenal tickets.
Yeah,
when they obviously come over. So I think that's why they've stopped memberships there now, but they'll open them again. And it's where does it end? Again, there's got to be that point system. There's got to be that kind of real kind of thing where what they do with away tickets, whatever. There's got to be some form of benefit. In all honesty, you can't just be just a one. It's like a one level kind of membership.
Yeah, agreed.
You just can't. Not with that those amount of numbers. I'm lucky. I'm a season ticket holder, so I'm lucky. I'm struggling with away tickets. That's my gripe at the minute, and trying to get up to the levels to try and get to a game like say today. I can't see any real way of actually doing it. Certainly, even if I could buy every single ticket that comes my way, that I could afford to travel all the way over to wherever you need to get to you ain't going to get that. It's madness. But
it's a conundrum indeed.
Yes, that's going to be another show again. Ticketing again. We've done one earlier in the year about it, but again, it's one of those. It's the more people that speak about it, the more the club's got to kind of try and listen and try and invoke stuff. I think the working groups and the fan groups, I don't think have had enough to it either. I don't think they've really offered. I think it was a bit more of a lip service for the club as well. It's very good for them to be showing it like they care, but they don't, or they're not really bothered so much now. So that's another show. But massive thanks to all of you, Dan. Yeah, brilliant. If you're free on a Sunday, this show runs. So whenever we want to talk Arsenal after a game, whether or not we win or lose, I don't know. Air your frustrations out, then be great. But really been good to speak to you all.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us. Brilliant.
Thank you, Bray.
No worries. But good night. This is in the North Bank, and the big Sunday show. On to Bournemouth.
Come on.
Yes, come on.
Come on, you Gunners.
Come on.